That was my mom voice. Did you hear that? Did you see that mom voice?
No.
I
I
muted
just
it.
saw the head movement. I know, I just saw the head movement, but I knew that you were like meaning like business. You know what I
You like,
mean?
she's gonna get the flip flop any second. Thank God it's you and you
Totally.
understand like where I'm at. And you're probably like, you're
Yeah.
seeing me in action. I'm like, give me a shoe. I'm just joking.
That is so funny. No, but I think if if we want to talk about like reinventing yourself, I
I
think
do.
for many, many, many years, I had the wrong approach, to
Okay.
like reinventing myself. I think I placed a lot of um value on things that are not really all that important. I think to me when I was younger, I mean, I say younger, probably like until last year or the last couple of years.
Right.
I've always, thought about reinventing myself in a way of like, if when I'm skinny, if when I'm skinny, I will have all the things I want,
Right.
and I'll become the person that I've always, was meant to be. And for so many years, that's what I've tried to do, and I failed miserably because I've gone at it in the wrong way.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't thinking about being healthy. I was thinking about being thin, and I would starve myself, and so many stories of, I sometimes I wouldn't eat for 3 days.
Oh my gosh.
I wouldn't eat for 3 days. But I would work out. I used to work out because when I lived, especially when I lived in Florida, I had a gym in my apartment complex. So I would go every single day, sometimes twice a week. And again, I wouldn't eat. I would either eat very little.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes if I knew that I had something coming up that I wanted to like look, snatched for,
Svelte.
yes, I would not eat for three
Snatched.
days, and it would get to a point where I would be like dizzy and like what I mean. Like it was not like it was like scary stuff, but in my
Right.
head, I was like, this is what I need to do in order to for me to reinvent myself. And another thing I did was I thought like my like geographical location will make a difference.
Okay.
So I'm
Interesting.
from Rhode Island, and it's a very small place, the
Right.
smallest state in the union. And I was like, there are no opportunities for me here. Like I can never do what I dream of doing, which is entertainment.
Right.
Um, Here, like I gotta go somewhere else. So I moved to Miami, and while I made some strides in that area, it wasn't necessarily like it didn't change my whole life, and
Right.
I could have been doing some things in Rhode Island that I've
Right.
always made up excuses as to why I wasn't doing the things. So when I moved to Florida, I didn't change really all that much. I just I did some things, but ultimately my habits were the same.
Right.
And again, I moved again 4 years later. I was like, I'm gonna move to LA, and that's gonna change everything. So I moved and I started doing some things, and then I ended up in the same situation, the same scenario, the same everything, because it's not about where you are. It's
Mm-hmm.
not about how thin you are. It's about you as a person, what's inside, and the work that you put in. Um, yeah, so I've tried to reinvent myself a zillion times, and I failed every single one because I was looking at it from the wrong angle. I was approaching it in the wrong way. You
Yeah,
know,
that's pretty powerful.
you
That's
got to
really,
work on it from the inside out.
yeah, you do.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, I did something similar, back in the day in my early 20s. Because of a boy, I packed up all my shit, went
Mm,
across the country, went out to LA, not to get in the entertainment industry, but just I had a
mm,
friend that lived out there, was going to graduate school. I decided to get a waitressing job and,
mm.
but like you get to a point where I'm literally looking at the Pacific Ocean. You can't go much farther unless you get on a boat. And what am I running away from? I'm running away
Yep.
from myself.
Yep.
And so I realized that. And I had like some dark moments that, really made me address some things that I needed to address at the time
Mhm.
and really reflect internally. And I'm thank God I was like, nope, this is not what I'm doing. I packed up all my shit and I went back. Thank God I had my brother who came out to LA with me.
Mhm.
He stayed. I had a friend from Michigan come out and meet me in Las Vegas.
Mm.
And he took a train there, and then we drove back together. So I had support,
Yeah.
at different, places in this trip. But I got back and it was like, then you have to really face the music and figure out like who am I and what am I doing? And it was then that I got myself on this path, the right path. And then things started coming into place.
Mm.
But I lost my way a little bit because, I got married, I had kids, and now all of a sudden, at the ripe old age of about to be turning 45 years old, and I'm just gonna
Looking
throw
like you're 30.
well, thank
I
you.
mean,
Oh, well, thank you.
beautiful.
I appreciate that. I'm gonna just savor that for a second. But no, but I honestly, it's like I always took time for myself in little pieces, but I really fully committed to like marriage and my husband and my family and my kids. And I never fully forgot who I was, but I didn't really fully know what I needed personally, and I did manage to keep my radio career part-time, but I never really did anything for me full-time. And here I am pursuing voice acting,
Mm.
something I've wanted to do since I was 15 or 16 years old.
Mm.
And it came up at that point in time when a old friend of mine's father, that was what he did for a living. And he showed me his studio and said, I have a great voice, but that was it.
Mm.
And then I went to finish high school, went to college, was going for accounting, decided
Mm.
not that was not for me, and went into communications and got into the whole radio thing.
Mm.
And I did that forever. But everyone always used to say, well, you should do voiceover. And I'm like, but how? Like, how do I do voiceover? And I didn't have a mentor, and any mentors, they weren't really fully available to train me,
Mm.
and then here we are, we found TVAS,
Mhm.
and I found it from podcasting,
Yeah.
from another friend of mine that came on the podcast a little bit ago. And here it's launched me into this like whole new reinventing of me, but it's not even really reinventing. It's really just finding who has always been there before. I've
Mhm.
always been
Mhm.
there. It's always been
Yeah.
there. I just never fully allowed myself to bring it from the back burner to the front burner and fully immerse myself into it.
Mhm.
Um, and then really go for it.
Mhm.
And even along the way in this voiceover journey that you are a part of, and that's how I met you.
Mm.
And because I cut out some negativity in my life, it's now opened up plenty of opportunities for me to bring in more positivity, which I feel like
Mhm.
that brings in, you and the rest of our group that we've connected with. And now I'm rambling, but I was just gonna say, it's like one of those things where I keep getting in my own way. I keep getting in my own fucking way. But because I've remained open to the process and remained open and determined to really fully engage in this voice acting stuff, this is like it's cyclical. It keeps coming into my life.
Mhm.
And it's organically it came into my life, and it's organically brought me to where I need to be. Like I found TVAS, I found a
Yeah.
community, I found a group of friends, I found people that are like-minded and wanting to do the same thing that I'm doing. They're not exactly like me, but
Mhm.
we have similarities. And I the universe keeps pushing me forward, even when I'm trying to get in my own way.
I know.
you know like I feel like I think I told our group, I call it little breadcrumbs, right?
Mhm.
And before I used to ignore the breadcrumbs. I don't know about you. Did you used to ignore the breadcrumbs? Ignore
Always.
the signs?
Always.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
because
go ahead.
no, I was gonna say that you've mentioned so many things. So of course, I love doing research. So when I knew that we were talking about reinvention, I just Google how do you reinvent yourself, and so
Right.
so so many of the things
Really?
like the first, it says step one, find your starting point, and that's all about like figuring out who you are.
Oh,
Like
wow.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like find out who you are, what you like, what you don't like,
Right.
what is your like moral code and the things that you care about.
Right.
And you said that, you said that, and you figure that out, or at least you're figuring it out, right?
I'm working on it.
Yeah, and also like clearing space for reinvention, you know, like if you have too many things going on at once, or you're focusing on trying to figuring out how to do 1,000 things, like try to prioritize the things that you, because you know, and I do have that issue of like trying to do too many things at once, and then you end up not excelling at any of any of them because you are, you know,
Right.
spreading yourself too thin.
Mm-hmm.
um but yeah, I think I do identify with you in so many ways, like in so many things, in so many ways we are very much alike as far as like
Yeah, totally.
getting in your own way. And I think my inner voice, or the inner saboteur, if you want to call it that, has sabotaged my life for forever, you know. And I place too much like importance on that voice, and I let it sort of guide me. And I know, you know, we've talked in the past about like, you know, leading your life with like love and openness and acceptance, but I've led my life with fear for so many years.
Right.
You know, fear of like looking like a fool and what other people are going to say. Like I just like I've cared too much about that for too long.
Yeah. I just was working on that recently about fear. And I was like, what am I fearful of? Fearful of failure, fearful of not being perfect. Fuck it. Like nobody really like that's old news, you know? And but it is like ingrained what do they say like it's like it's dialect, it's words that are ingrained in your brain that you need to like let go of. My breathwork gal said it way better than that, but you know, and it's about switching it, like what Ginger would say, who's my other co-host. She would say, switch it the fuck up. So it's kind of like instead of being fearful, you know, be excited, and maybe joyful, you know. So I've been trying to switch things around. You know, anxiety. I'm sorry, you're not invited today. Like I am just going to be excited about what's happening. And I
Yeah.
did just and I did do a one-on-one with a voiceover coach. I've been sort of pedal to the metal in the last 3 weeks. My bank
Mhm.
account is definitely like, what the fuck is going on right now? But I'm a little bit of an overachiever because I had done the demo boot camp, and
Yeah.
you know, it was basically presented to me that like, you know, you could be ready, but like there is some things that you could fine tune and tweak. And how about leading up to our trip,
Mm.
you know, you could I was invited, or it was offered to me to try to do my commercial demo in person in a real studio out in Vegas where we're studying. And so I had been like pedal to the metal, you know, and it was like, oh, just meet with these two coaches one time and then we'll meet again. And I'm like, I met with them 3 times, you know, but it's like, stop getting in your way. Stop getting in your way. Like, move aside. That little critical person in the back of your brain, shut the fuck up. There's no
Mhm.
room for you right now. Like, I am like
Mhm.
pedal to the metal. I'm not looking in the rearview mirror. I am
Mhm.
just going, and I'm going to go for it. So that way, you know, it is what it is. I'm hopeful, but I'm realistic that this could be the trip itself that you and I and the group came up with. You and I kind of spearheaded it a little bit.
Yeah,
Like,
we did.
yeah, we'll just pat ourselves on the back.
Yeah.
Uh, um, you know, it was like it started with one idea and it
Yeah.
blossomed into like a bigger idea.
Mhm.
And it's pretty exciting to do something new. It's exciting to meet new people, you know. Reinventing yourself is not just about me. It's like, yes, I'm learning things about me. I'm learning that this is a big self-discovery place, you know.
Mhm.
Um, but it's also about meeting new people, allowing new people into your life, allowing new people into your world, whether it's like seasonal or a couple seasons or a lifetime, you know, and allowing those people to impact you in a way that they're supposed to impact you or teach you or bring light to your life, you know,
Mhm.
being open to that, learning new things from new people, you
Mhm.
know, and growing. And it's all fucking scary,
Yeah.
but I've tried to remain open to the signs, open to the breadcrumbs, open to the process. And I realized through talk therapy with my therapist, because I'm really big into talk therapy right now and some other modalities of like self care,
Mhm.
that I've mentioned. If you follow the chaos, you know I love my breath work. But I think some of our buddies were like, our voiceover buddies were like, okay, thanks for the tip. Thanks for the breathwork tip. That's great, But it really, not necessarily might not work for everybody, but it works for me. And I forgot what I was saying, but it's a process, and just
Yeah.
being open to it is what I've been trying to maintain, and
Mhm.
self-discovery. I don't know about
Yeah.
you, but I've learned that self-confidence is a real issue for me. Like, what the fuck? Can I buy it? Like, is it on Amazon? Like,
Is
can
there a
I
pill
fucking
I can
buy?
take?
Is there like a 2 for 1? Can we get something on Amazon? Like some
I
confidence? Does it come in a box? Like, I don't know.
no, I don't. Yeah. Okay.
You
So
know?
so many things. So first of all,
Okay.
you just like completed the list.
Oh,
Like
just
literally, like you just everything you just said is on this list. So like build courage through action. Yeah, like totally, do the things that you're afraid of, which,
yeah.
are hard for a reason, right? And but not everybody just kind of keeps going. And I think you've done a really good job at that
Thank
of
you.
like, something is scary, but I'm gonna fucking do it anyway
Yeah.
because because that is the way, like that is how I'm going to get to where I want to get to.
Mhm.
I need to cross this bridge, even though it looks dangerous and I might fall off and there is no
Right.
safety net. I'm still gonna do it because I'm a badass, and
Yeah.
you have a path and you have a goal, and you're not letting anything stop you. So I think that's incredible.
Except for myself sometimes. But then I have to tell everybody in my
Except
head
for
to shh,
yourself.
calm down. People in
Yes.
my head, like, you're
Yeah.
not invited to this party.
Nope. Nope. And then another thing you said is, the step here is widen your circle, which, it's all about like building community and being exposed to other people that, have different lives and look different than you. Because I think all of these things, everybody has something to offer.
Mhm.
Everyone has something to bring to the table. And I think having that will definitely help you in your career.
Mhm.
Having different experiences and doing different things and meeting different people and getting feedback from other people who maybe have a different approach to the things that we're all working on. Because honestly, like I think one of the most valuable things that I get from our bo buddies thing is that we all have the same goal, but we've all had a different path and a different journey,
Mhm.
and we can all learn from each other,
Yeah.
you know and you
Yes.
you take the things that work for you from this person and from that person and vice versa,
Yes.
and it's really positive, like beautiful energy. And as far as like your breath work and stuff, I think that is really great because honestly, you have to, like I said earlier, you have to like work on yourself from like the inside out and like
Yes.
nourish your core and your being and your soul and all of that.
Mhm.
um and I think you definitely have a lot of experience in that, and I think that that has worked for you and will continue to work for you. And um don't feel like embarrassed or anything about it, because
Right.
I think it's amazing, and
Thank
I
you.
love your tips and all the things that you do.
Well, and I call myself a dabbler, right? So it's
Yeah.
like I don't fully immerse myself into like one thing.
Mhm.
It's like, I still take Tylenol, but I have essential oils. That's what I compare it to. Like I've got crystals, but I still like, have my Tito's vodka, so it's
Yeah.
like, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like I do breath work, and but I also am doing, talk therapy and something a little
Mhm.
bit more like mainstream or whatever. So,
Yeah.
but I think a lot of times too, and this kind of came up for, and you're in the same boat too, because
Mm.
I mean, reinventing yourself and, um, pushing yourself. And I know, like, I don't know about you, but sometimes I hit these really big hiccups, and
Mm.
I had it at our last practice
Mhm.
where I hit this hiccup, And I was, there's some other life things going on behind the
Mhm.
curtain. I have my own health issues that I'm not quite ready to like really talk about right now until I kind of
Yeah.
figure out where things are going,
Mhm.
separate from the pneumonia I talked about before. And it's been heavy,
Mhm.
especially when you're looking at health issues as a mom and you have young kids and a husband, and then you're in the midst of like reinventing yourself. It's like, fuck me right now. Like, don't have time for this bullshit, but I will do what I need to do to take time out for my health to make sure everything's okay. Like, no stone unturned approach. So I've been a little hormonal,
Mhm.
and no, it's not menopause. I don't have menopause, but not yet.
Too young for that.
I'm too young for that. I mean, I'm like almost 30. So, um,
Yes.
but I feel like sometimes, when you are a oversharer or a
Mhm.
sharer, I've found that like there's certain ways of sharing information. And if you're like pushy, you get resistance.
Mhm.
If you're like inviting and conversational about it, like sometimes you can get people that, you know, you can, attract into like whatever you're doing and pull them on board. And then
Mhm.
sometimes it's fun just to be like, hey, this works for me. It's kind of woo, but my husband's like, what's woo? I'm like, woo woo. It's like woo wooey. It's kind of woo, like this is me, like take it or leave it kind of, and I
Right.
find that sometimes depending on the company I'm in, sometimes, I I don't know, like it feels like, and this is like a different conversation, but it feels like sometimes I'm misunderstood
Mm.
in my direction
Mhm.
sometimes. And that leads me to the point where this is another self-discovery thing
Yeah.
in this process of learning and getting into voice acting, is that
Mhm.
not only do I sometimes get in my own way, like on my own
Mhm.
roadblock, but sometimes I allow other things in the environment to throw me off course.
Mhm.
It could be for like a minute, it could be for an hour, it could be for like a
Mhm.
day. And I just don't want to do that anymore. And it's not like,
Mhm.
some people don't mean to do it. Some people,
Mhm.
don't even know intention that they did it intentionally. It could be like
Mhm.
as simple as like someone showing up sick to a virtual practice that I'm a part of that pissed me off. Um,
Well, they
but
were in
okay.
person, but
Right. If they were virtual, I probably wouldn't be so mad.
right, right.
But it's like, there was a quote that I read on social media where they were talking about, taking like harnessing your own power,
Mm.
right? And not allowing other people's energies, whether they project it or not, or their decisions to impact you so heavily, where it
Mhm.
like throws you off track. I wish I had
Mhm.
saved. I should have screenshot it.
Mhm.
Maybe if I find out,
Mhm.
I'll put it in the comments below. But
Yeah.
um so anyways, I mean, that was just like a little sidetrack. But
Mhm.
when you're reinventing yourself, and this is like a process, right? And
Mhm.
it's like, I don't know. I think you have to honor, like, I think it's awesome that you hit a point in your process and your journey, even though we're together, as
Mhm.
a group, but you as an individual in your own process and your own journey, you were like, you know what? I am having a minute. Like, I need to
Mhm.
take a hot second for myself, and I need to just not shave and not moisturize, maybe
Mhm.
not shower, like I need to not talk to anybody. I need to just throw on my favorite movies and just
Yeah.
take a minute. And I feel
Mhm.
like that's healthy. I feel like
Yeah.
that's healthy, especially if you don't stay there and
Mhm.
you just, you know, um, and that's coming full circle back to like my ramblingness. But like, I had a minute, like a practice where it was like, I had outside stuff happening in the house. I had like my health stuff. We have the trip coming
Mhm.
up.
Mhm.
Um, and then I just like had a little bit of a hiccup in terms of like my headspace,
Yeah.
and I find that if I just allow myself to just be in that moment and just feel it instead of n- resisting it, it
Mhm.
goes away a lot quicker.
Mhm.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and
Yeah.
there was a podcast I was listening to where they were talking about this. I shared this with our group too, where they were saying like when the waves crash against the beach does not stop the waves from coming. It lets the wave like roll over it and then it goes back out, you know? And so I'm trying to practice that. I'm trying to just go with the flow, be open, stay on
Yeah.
course,
Mm-hmm.
trust the process,
Mm-hmm.
and just keep pushing forward and going with the flow. It's not perfect. There's days where I'm like, what the fuck am I doing right
Definitely.
now?
Yeah, no, definitely it's not. I don't think, perfection is doesn't exist, but I
Well,
did I did notice during the practice, because of course, like, you're always, we don't call you like the PR person of the group for no reason. Like, you're very involved and you're always present. um so when you shut your camera off, I was like, okay, that's interesting. That's never happened before. So, but I wasn't sure if it was something that was said, or if it was, I just wasn't sure. But you came back, and you were, honest and vulnerable, and you allowed yourself to have that moment, not only with yourself but with everybody else. So that was really beautiful to watch, and I felt honored to be a part of that. And I know it's not easy. um and I tend to kind of share a lot, and but I don't share a lot with people that I don't trust, although
and
i'm
here
on
we are
this
on the
I'm
podcast.
on the podcast and I'm just talking about all my shit.
I know you're like,
um
let it all hang out.
but that's because I'm with you and I
Right.
feel really comfortable with you. We
Thank
haven't
you.
known each other for too long, but I've definitely felt a connection with you.
Yeah.
And that I feel that it's very special, and that we can talk
Yeah.
about these things, and there's no judgment and no nothing. So I feel like this is a safe space.
Yeah.
Anytime that you're present, and I tell you this, and I think I've told you this, but like anytime that we have like a meeting or a group or something, I always look to you.
Me too. I
Like,
look to you. I'm like, eh,
right?
right?
I always look to you for that strength,
Same.
so
Me too.
yeah.
Me too. And that really like makes me feel good because I feel the same about you. And I
Yeah.
do like I was listening. I